Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Your mind is louder than your faith, and that's why you're restless. You're not exhausted because of what's happening around you. You're exhausted because of what's happening inside you. You're fighting battles in your head that God already won. You're carrying weights He never asked you to carry. And until you stop overthinking and let God handle it, you'll keep pacing the same mental prison. But the moment you release it, the moment you surrender, that's when peace shows up. That's when doors open. That's when the impossible becomes possible. Stop overthinking and let God handle it. You see, the greatest enemy to your peace is not always the devil. It's not always the circumstances. It's not always the people around you. It is often your own mind that keeps replaying the what ifs, the maybes, and the I should have. Your mind has become a battlefield where every fear, every doubt, every insecurity keeps waging war against your faith. And the truth is, you can't walk into the future God has for you if you're still being held hostage by the prison of your thoughts. And we live in a world that glorifies control. They tell you to plan everything, calculate every move, analyze every possibility. But sometimes all that planning leads to paralysis. Sometimes your overthinking becomes the very chain that holds you down. You've been pacing the floors of your mind for too long, circling around the same questions, the same problems, the same decisions, and yet nothing changes because God never designed you to carry the weight He promised He would handle. And there comes a moment when you have to decide whether you are going to keep replaying scenarios that never happened, or whether you are going to trust the one who knows the end from the beginning. Some of you are exhausted, not because of the work you are doing with your hands, but because of the war you are fighting in your head. You smile on the outside, but inside you are tired, drained, and stretched thin because you're trying to solve problems that only God can solve. And you're trying to write tomorrow with today's ink, and it's drying up on you. You're trying to control outcomes that were never meant to be in your control. That's why you can't sleep at night. That's why your chest feels heavy. That's why you can't seem to move forward. You've become addicted to overthinking, and overthinking is nothing but fear dressed up in logic. It disguises itself as wisdom, but it robs you of peace. It pretends to be preparation, but it paralyzes your progress. And I came to tell you that faith and overthinking cannot occupy the same space. Faith says, God will handle it. Overthinking says, but what if He doesn't? Faith says He is able. Overthinking says, but what if I fail? Faith says, I walk by what I believe. Overthinking says, I walk by what I see. And until you decide to starve your doubts and feed your faith, you will keep spinning in circles, missing out on the peace God promised you. And some of you have been overthinking your past. You keep replaying what you did wrong, what you should have done, what they said, how they left, why it failed. You keep rehearsing yesterday, and yesterday has already been buried. The more you dig it up, the more it stinks. You cannot change what has already happened, but you can destroy your future by living in it. God is not asking you to figure out how He's going to redeem your past. He is asking you to trust Him enough to move forward anyway. And then there are those who are overthinking the future. You want to control what hasn't even come yet. You want to know how it will turn out, when it will happen, who will be there, what door will open, what job will call, what relationship will last. You want the GPS before you start the journey, but God doesn't work like that. He doesn't give you the full map. He gives you a step. And if you keep waiting for the whole blueprint, you will miss the blessing that comes with the first step. And there is power in letting go. There is freedom in saying, God, I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know through whom, but I trust you with this. That's when the weight lifts off your shoulders. That's when the anxiety begins to break. That's when peace starts flowing like a river. Because peace is not found in having all the answers. Peace is found in knowing the one who holds the answers. And stop letting your mind play out every possible disaster. Stop imagining the worst before it even happens. You've already lived through storms you thought would kill you, and yet here you are. You've already survived nights where you didn't think the sun would rise, and yet here you are. You keep overthinking the future like God didn't already prove himself in the past. If he brought you through before, he will bring you through again. And when you try to handle it yourself, you end up weary, restless, broken, and frustrated. But when you hand it over to God, you begin to see things shift that you couldn't have shifted on your own. You begin to see doors open that no overthinking could have forced open. You begin to experience peace in the middle of chaos because now you understand that it's not your job to control outcomes. It's your job to trust the one who does. And your overthinking is killing your joy. It's robbing you of the present moment. It's blinding you from seeing the blessings that are right in front of you. You're so caught up in what if that you can't enjoy what is. God has already given you grace for today, but you're too busy worrying about tomorrow's problems that may never even come. And the enemy loves that because as long as he can keep you tangled in your thoughts, he knows you I'll never walk in your purpose. And you have to tell yourself, this is not mine to carry. This battle belongs to the Lord. You have to stop trying to be the architect of every detail in your life and let the master builder do his work. You have to let go of the illusion of control, because control is a mask that covers fear. And when you release that need to control, that's when faith comes alive. That's when trust becomes real. And let God handle the people you can't change. Let God handle the situations you can't fix. Let God handle the doors you can't open. Let God handle the healing you can't bring. Let God handle the future you can't see. Because if you keep overthinking it, you're going to delay the blessing that was already on its way. And sometimes the greatest act of faith is not doing more, but surrendering more. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is, Lord, I don't have it all figured out, but I trust you. Sometimes the best decision you can make is to silence the noise in your mind and let his word speak louder than your worries. And you are not built to carry every outcome in your head. You are not built to solve every scenario in advance. You are built to walk by faith, step by step, day by day, moment by moment, trusting that the one who brought you this far will not leave you stranded. Overthinking says, I have to figure it all out. Faith says, God already has it worked out. Overthinking says, I might fall. Faith says, even if I fall, he will pick me up. Overthinking says, what if it doesn't work? Faith says, what if it does? And so quiet your thoughts. Silence the noise. Stop replaying the pain. Stop rehearsing the failure. Stop borrowing trouble from tomorrow. Stop letting your imagination run wild with fear. Let go of the need to know every answer, every detail, every outcome, and put it back where it belongs, into the hands of He God who never fails. Let go of the need to know every answer, every detail, every outcome, and put it back where it belongs, into the hands of the God who never fails. And let me tell you something. Sometimes you've got to be willing to walk into the unknown without a plan, without a backup, without a safety net, because when you do, that's when you discover God's power in its purest form. The blessing is not always in having the roadmap. The blessing is in walking with the one who built the road. And you can't let your life become dictated by fear disguised as preparation. You're not going to think your way into peace. You're not going to worry your way into solutions. Worry has never fixed a broken marriage. Worry has never paid a bill. Worry has never healed a sickness. Worry has never brought back the lost time. All worry does is steal from you twice. It takes the joy of today and it robs you of the faith for tomorrow. That's why God says, cast your cares. Not carry them, not analyze them, not rehearse them, cast them, throw them off, put them in his hands and leave them there. And overthinking will make you assume responsibility for things you were never assigned to. You'll start trying to control people you cannot change. You'll start blaming yourself for things you could not prevent. You'll start living in guilt for choices you had no control over. You'll keep dragging the weight of expectations that were never yours to bear. But when you release it, when you put it in the hands of God, you discover a freedom that no logic could give you. And some of you are standing at the edge of breakthrough, but you can't step into it because your mind won't let you. You've thought of every reason it won't work. You've created every possible scenario where it falls apart. You've imagined the failure so vividly that you've convinced yourself it's reality, and that is why you haven't moved. But the truth is, your overthinking is exaggerating the fear. What you thought would destroy you is smaller than it appears. What you thought would break you is already defeated. What you thought would block you is already cleared out of your way. And there is a reason why God tells us to renew our minds. Because if you don't, your mind will play tricks on you. Your mind will tell you that you're not enough. Your mind will tell you that you're not ready. Your mind will tell you that you don't deserve it. Your mind will tell you that you're too late, too broken, too far gone. But God is whispering, stop overthinking, stop doubting, stop hesitating. I've already prepared the way. And then when you begin to believe that, you will walk differently. You will stand taller. You will rest deeper because your faith will no longer be anchored in your ability to control. It will be anchored in his ability to sustain. You will stop, Mike. You will stop micromanaging every detail of your life and you will start breathing again. You will stop pacing the floor at night, rehearsing conversations in your head that may never happen. You will stop trying to predict outcomes that are not even in your control. You will stop trying to be the author of your own destiny when God is already holding the pen. Because the more you overthink, the more you interfere with what he's already arranging. And overthinking will make you miss divine timing. It will make you hesitate when the door is wide open. It will make you freeze when opportunity is knocking. It will make you question blessings you prayed for because the enemy knows if he can't stop the blessing, he'll make you doubt it until you walk away from it. And some of you are right at the threshold of answered prayer, but you keep talking yourself out of it because your mind is louder than your faith. And stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start declaring, what if it does? Stop asking, what if they leave? And start trusting, what if God brings someone better? Stop asking, what if I fail? And start proclaiming, what if I fly? Because overthinking magnifies fear, but faith magnifies possibility. And when you shift your focus, when you stop letting fear be the loudest voice in the room, you will finally realize that the power of God is bigger than the power of your thoughts. And you don't have to have every answer to move forward. You don't have to have the whole plan to take the first step. You don't have to see the whole picture to know that God is painting something beautiful with your life. You've been waiting to understand everything before you move, but sometimes the move brings the understanding. Sometimes you have to step into the unknown so God can reveal what you couldn't see standing still. And overthinking convinces you that you need certainty before obedience. But faith requires obedience before certainty. That's why some doors never open for overthinkers. They're still standing at the threshold, waiting for perfect clarity, while the blessing has already shifted to the one who stepped out in faith. Stop letting the need for control steal the miracles that only show up when you move without answers. And you've got to silence the storm in your mind. The storm is not always around you. It's inside you. And if you don't calm the storm within, it won't matter if everything outside is peaceful. You can be in a quiet room and still be tormented by noise. You can be in a safe place and still feel restless. You can be surrounded by love and still feel insecure, because overthinking creates storms that don't even exist. But when you say, God, this belongs to you, the storm has to settle. And it takes courage to release control. It takes strength to let go. It takes faith to surrender. But surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. Surrender is not defeat, it's victory. Because when you let God handle it, you move from carrying burdens to carrying blessings. You move from stressing to resting. You move from confusion to clarity. And listen, letting go doesn't mean you stop being responsible. And letting go doesn't mean you stop planning. Letting go doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. No, letting go means you do what you can and you trust God with what you cannot. It means you move in obedience without needing every detail. It means you work faithfully, but you stop obsessing about outcomes. It means you plant the seed and leave the growth to God. And some of you have been stuck in the same cycle because you keep overthinking the exit. You keep asking yourself, should I go? Should I stay? Should I try again? Should I quit? You've replayed it 100 times and you're still in the same spot. Why? Because you think clarity comes from overthinking, but real clarity comes from prayer, from faith, from trust. When you stop overanalyzing and start listening, you'll realize God already gave you the answer. You just buried it under layers of doubt. And I need to tell you this, overthinking is not just stealing your peace, it's stealing your time. Time you'll never get back. Hours lost in worry, days lost in hesitation, seasons lost in indecision. And while you're stuck in your head, life is moving on. Opportunities are passing. Doors are closing. Blessings are waiting. And you're missing it because you're too busy rehearsing the problem instead of trusting the promise. And you don't need to have control to have confidence. Your confidence doesn't come from knowing every detail. It comes from knowing God never fails. Your confidence doesn't come from having every resource. It comes from knowing He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. Your confidence doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from knowing He is the answer. And once you root your confidence in Him, your overthinking loses its grip on you. And you've got to train your mind to rest, train your thoughts to trust, train your spirit to lean not on your own understanding, but on His. Because if you don't train your thoughts, they will train you. They will shape your life, your choices, your future. And your life is too valuable. Your calling is too great. Your destiny is too important to be led by fear disguised as overthinking. And so make up your mind. Either you're going to keep carrying it until it breaks you, or you're going to release it into the hands of the one who can sustain you. Either you're going to keep running scenarios in your head until you're paralyzed, or you're going to step out and walk by faith. Either you're going to keep holding on to the illusion of control, or you're going to discover the peace that comes with surrender. And the truth is, you can't handle it all. And that's okay. You were never meant to. You weren't designed to bear the full weight of tomorrow. You weren't built to calculate every possibility. You weren't created to be your own savior. That's why you feel exhausted. That's why you feel stretched. That's why your spirit feels heavy, because you're carrying something that was never assigned to you. And the moment you release it, the moment you truly let God handle it, you'll realize that peace was waiting for you all along, because you're carrying something that was never assigned to you. And the moment you release it, the moment you truly let God handle it, you'll realize that peace was waiting for you all along. Peace that doesn't make sense to the natural mind. Peace that shows up when the bills are still due, when the diagnosis hasn't changed, when the situation hasn't shifted. Peace that whispers it's already handled, even when your eyes can't see how. That's the kind of peace that comes when you stop overthinking and start trusting. And the enemy wants to keep you locked in a cycle of analysis because he knows as long as you're analyzing, you won't be acting. As long as you're doubting, you won't be moving. As long as you're stuck in your head, you won't step into your destiny. But the devil is a liar. You don't have to stay in that mental prison another day. You don't have to replay the same fears another night. You don't have to live under the weight of what if when you serve a God who is greater than every what if you can imagine. And think about how much energy you've wasted worrying about things that never even happened. Think about how many nights you lost sleep over situations that worked themselves out. Think about how many tears you cried over doors that eventually opened. Think about how many hours you sat frozen, afraid of outcomes that never came to pass. That's the trap of overthinking. It makes you live in a future that doesn't exist while robbing you of the present you actually have. But today is all you've been promised. Right now is the only moment you can truly live in. And if you waste today worrying about tomorrow, you'll miss the blessings that were assigned for this day. You'll miss the opportunities that were placed in front of you. You'll miss the joy that could have lifted you. You'll miss the strength that could have carried you, because overthinking blurs your vision until all you can see are problems instead of possibilities. And let me tell you this, God never asked you to figure it all out. He never asked you to carry the weight of tomorrow. He never asked you to calculate every scenario. He simply asked you to trust him. That's it. To believe that he is good, to believe that he is faithful, to believe that he is able, to believe that he is working even when you can't see it, to believe that what you can't control is already in his control. That's all he asked of you, faith. And faith and overthinking cannot live in the same house. And you've been trying to mix faith with fear, but they don't blend. You've been trying to walk by sight and by faith at the same time, but it doesn't work like that. You've been trying to trust God with your life while your mind is still running scenarios, still calculating, still worrying. And you wonder why you feel stretched, why you feel torn, why you feel conflicted. It's because your mind and your spirit are at war. But the moment you make the choice, the moment you decide, I'm done overthinking this, I'm putting it in God's hands, that war ends and peace takes over. And sometimes the greatest miracle is not the situation changing, it's your perspective changing. It's your mind shifting from panic to peace. It's your spirit shifting from fear to faith. It's your heart shifting from control to surrender. That's the miracle you need, because once your mind changes, your life changes. Once your perspective changes, the way you walk through storms changes. Once your thinking changes, you stop being a prisoner to worry and you start being a prisoner of hope. And let me remind you, you've already survived storms you thought would destroy you. You've already made it through nights that you thought would break you. You've already seen God show up in ways you couldn't have predicted. You've already seen him open doors you didn't even knock on. You've already experienced his provision, his grace, his mercy. So why are you still overthinking the future like he won't be there? Why are you still doubting tomorrow like he hasn't proven himself faithful in your yesterday? And you're carrying weight that doesn't belong to you. You're fighting battles that aren't yours to fight. You're stressing about things that are already finished in heaven. You're tormenting yourself with outcomes that God already settled. If you could see what he's already worked out on your behalf, you would stop overthinking and start worshiping. You would stop panicking and start praising, you would stop worrying and start walking in peace. And some of you are losing sleep over what's coming next. You're trying to predict how it will unfold. You're replaying conversations in your mind. You're trying to calculate every detail of how the blessing will show up, how the promise will come, how the miracle will manifest. But let me tell you, God doesn't need your calculations. He needs your cooperation. He doesn't need your control. He needs your surrender. He doesn't need you to overthink. He needs you to trust. And you cannot receive peace while holding on to control. The tighter you grip, the more anxious you feel. The more you try to manipulate outcomes, the more restless you become. But the moment you open your hands, the moment you say, God, I trust you, the moment you release your grip, peace floods in, because peace was never absent. It was just blocked by your need for control. And here's the truth. Control is an illusion anyway. You can't control people. You can't control circumstances. You can't control the future. You can't control outcomes. The only thing you can control is your response. And when your response is to trust God, to lean on Him, to rest in Him, then no matter what happens around you, you are unshaken, because your peace is not built on circumstances. It's built on Him. And overthinking is nothing but a thief. It steals your joy. It steals your rest. It steals your faith. It steals your productivity. It steals your creativity. It steals your ability to live fully in the moment God has given you. And you've been giving it permission to rob you for too long. It's time to lock the door. It's time to shut down the noise. It's time to say no more. It's time to take your mind back. And you were created for peace. You were designed for rest. You were built for faith. You were wired for trust. That's why overthinking feels so exhausting. It's unnatural. That's why it drains you. It's not what you were made for. You were not created to carry tomorrow's weight today. You were not designed to play out every possible scenario in your head. You were not meant to be your own savior. You were meant to lean on the ever-living, hasting arms, to rest in the goodness of God, to walk in the confidence of faith. And so breathe, release, trust. Stop analyzing what God has already answered. Stop rehearsing what God has already healed. Stop fearing what God has already secured. Stop overthinking what God has already handled. Your mind is not your master, it's your servant. And when you align it with faith, when you discipline it with trust, when you anchor it in His word, it stops running wild and starts walking in peace. And the storm inside you doesn't have to rage another day. The noise doesn't have to control you another night. The fear doesn't have to bind you another season. The chains of overthinking can break the moment you decide, this is not mine to carry. This belongs to God.